Hello everybody, welcome to That's Football. Manchester City get a draw at Arsenal 1-1. What are your thoughts on that? I think that was a must-win game for Arsenal in the context of a brilliant equaliser by Martinelli, and what a ball it was by Eze, and what a finish it was by Martinelli. Perfection on both. Nothing Donnarumma can do about it. Man City so close to getting the result, and we keep seeing these late goals, and it's a big goal for Arsenal because I think 6 points behind Liverpool after 5 games, 2 losses. I think that's hard mentally for Arsenal, but a draw at least keeps them mentally in it. But a 5-point gap, the real winner is Liverpool. And looking at the game, were there mistakes in it? For me, Manchester City, you can park on a couple of sentences. They're a work in progress. Pep's parking the bus and playing counter-attacking football. Now, will the media be out there saying that? Will the media be saying that Pep Guardiola's football is now just counter-attacking football? No, they won't, because they bloody love Pep. But that's what it was, and it very nearly worked. They defended really, really well. But I think from Arteta's point of view, and you know on this channel I've always been very patient with Arteta, saying I can see what he's doing. But I think this season, having finished second so many times, you've now got your striker, your bench is incredible. I think he made some fundamental mistakes today that cost them. They needed to win that game. I don't think a draw is good. You've already lost at Anfield. Now you've drawn at home to Man City. That's 5 points gone. Now, all right, the Anfield game is acceptable, but you've just dropped 2 points at home to Man City, and you nearly lost. You've got to look at what went wrong there. And the only thing Arsenal seemed to have until that brilliant, risky ball at the end was crosses into the box against a huge goalkeeper and a defence that's good in the air. They had 11 corners. All they seemed to be working was crosses into the box, and it didn't work. They never looked like scoring until that last chance. That's a get-out-of-jail card for Arsenal. So where did it go wrong? Well, fundamentally, I think the team he picked was too pragmatic. Arsenal fans speak about this all the time. He's too pragmatic in the big games. And I think in the years, look, to me, if I was an Arsenal fan, I'd say this. I'm frustrated about the bloody respect he has for his bloody mentor. Pep Guardiola mentored me. I shake everybody's hand on the touchline. Oh, Pep, Pep, Pep. The reality is, those days are gone. You're in the ascendancy now. Man City were brilliant and you were trying to, be second best. You're better than Arsenal. Arsenal are better than Man City now. And you're going into a game with, a defensive midfield and Trossard on the left. You're at home. You've already lost to Liverpool. You've played 2 days earlier. Eze should have been starting in the midfield and, or on the left. It was too pragmatic from Arteta for me. And then you concede the early goal and he doesn't make the changes till half time. He waits half an hour. I also think he has a very big issue, and this is my second issue with Arteta today. I think he has a very big issue in rushing people. Like, Gyökeres was straight into the team. He clearly wasn't match fit the first 3 games of the season, but it worked because he got some goals. Saliba today comes straight into the team despite Mascara doing very well. Saliba is completely responsible for the Haaland goal. He should run with Haaland. I don't think he had a good game and he doesn't look fit. But Arteta throws him into a big game like this because it's Saliba. Half time, Saka comes on because it's Saka. Madueke goes off. And I'm like, Madueke looked better in the first half than Saka did in the second half. And this comes down to inexperience to me. I mean, Arteta, this is his first big job. I think it's his first job in management. There's just an inexperience there. He just seems to rush his key players back all the time and not trust in players that are actually match fit. And I don't think Saliba needed to come into that team today. And I don't think Saka needed to come on at half time, but it was almost like, well, it's Saliba and Saka, get them on the pitch. And I'm like, Madueke was doing well. Madueke was doing well. I don't know why he took him off. So I think that's a problem as well. But look, as I said, getting the point is really big for Arsenal. They're still, they're not out of a title race now. But what I would be worried about if I was an Arsenal fan is that, one, you've got to go to Newcastle next week at St James's Park, and there's a vulnerability to Arsenal. I thought they defended badly today. I actually think you could be critical of Man City and say maybe they should have been braver to get the second goal. Were you a little bit like when you go to the Etihad a few years ago and you're 1-0 up? Is it going to be enough? Probably not. At the Emirates, was Pep right to think that 1 goal was going to be enough? Like, Haaland's on it, Doku looked good. Should they have been a little bit more expansive in trying to get the second goal? They didn't really go for it and they relied on the defence and ultimately they fell short at the end. So I think there's learning for both. I think Pep probably should have gone for the second goal a little bit more because Arsenal looked bad defensively. And obviously we've spoken about the issues with Arsenal. But look, Liverpool have shown frailties but found a way to win. I think that's the big learning point this weekend. Manchester City are 8 points behind Liverpool. That to me is already too much. You can't say it's too much in September, but to me it feels too much. Arsenal are 5 points behind Liverpool, and I wouldn't say it's too much yet, but it's starting to go that way. The bigger point for me is I think Liverpool find a way to win that game. Attacking against Man City's defence for an hour, I think Liverpool find a way to equalise and win. Arsenal barely found a way to equalise, and I think that's the big difference. It's the know-how. It's the mentality again. Arsenal have everything now. They have, and look, people will criticise Gyökeres, whatever. I still think he's a good player. There wasn't a lot going on. You're playing against 3 defenders. It's balls into the box constantly. They're not playing it into his feet. There's not really much space to run into. I don't think that was the concern today. I think the concern was, collectively, Arsenal have got everything they need, but they're very lucky to come out with a draw. And you just feel that if that's Anfield, Liverpool find a way to win. And Arsenal really didn't get anywhere near winning that game. And if you want to win titles, that's not title winning form today. That wasn't like that's what title winners do. I mean, Arsenal might win the league and you might look back at that goal and go, oh, how important was that? But they've got to be better. They've got to be better. There was sloppy. There was mistakes. There was a lot of mistakes. There was a lot of misplaced passes. They looked a bit hungover. Somebody said that in the chat. And there are questions about Arteta. And as I said, I've always been very defensive of Arteta, and I think he's done a very good job at Arsenal. But I think you'd look at it today in the season as a whole and say, well, you can't be second again. You can't be a Champions League semi-finalist again. You can't. Like, at some point, you get to a point where you go, you're not the guy. And nobody's allowed to keep finishing second, even though second is credible. I think you also have to look at it and go, well, what more do you give him? Like, what more do you give him? Like, looking at the team today, you can't say, well, there was no Odegaard because there was no Mamouche for Man City. They've got injuries as well. So I think there has to be more from Arsenal. It's still very early in the season, but I think criticism has to be with Arteta today. It still, for me, goes back to team selection, and it goes back to this over-reliance on experienced players and chucking them in. I don't think Saka added anything to that game that Madueke wasn't already. And I don't think Saliba added anything to that game that Mascara wouldn't have done either. In fact, it's cost you a goal. So, look, maybe that's naivety from Arteta. I think it is. But they're still in this. They can get better. But honestly, I'd be concerned to say, I predicted Arsenal would win the league, because I feel they have to go and win the league this year. Where they are at the moment, they've got to go to Newcastle and win next week. 5 points isn't impossible, but it can't become 7. It can't become 8. They have to go to Newcastle next week and they have to go and win 5, 6, 7 games in a row. Liverpool have won 5 games in a row, not playing well. Arsenal have got to go and win 5, 6, 7 in a row now. They can't afford to keep dropping points. Give us your thoughts. Thanks for watching. Make sure you smash the like and subscribe. Speak to you on the next one.